Warriors, good morning. Life as you know it is never going to be the same. The way you communicate, the way you interact with humans, the way you do your work, the jobs that you do will never be the same. It's been a really interesting year in 2020. There's been a lot of things that have changed. We now work from home. I've done more Zoom calls than I've ever done in my life. Most of you become school teachers. You're piled on top of each other at home. People are getting sicker than they've ever gotten before. But as we know it, the world is changing rapidly. As we look at the narrative over here and all the distractions, there's a whole initiative going on over here. And it is happening much faster than you think. Financially, our home life, everything is about to be tested. Now, the strong will survive, and what I mean by that is the mindset. I'm a warrior coach. I teach people mind, body, immunity, and what I'm doing in the new quantum financial system. But the part to protect is your mind, warriors. Because as we move into this new quantum financial system, the new fourth industrial revolution, the biggest thing that's going to be tested is your ability to keep control of this. Now, there's a lot of great changes that are happening, the climate change, greener energy, things like that. But also with technology, we stop using this, which is the most powerful tool we've been given by a higher power. My name is Coach JV. I am the top health and mindset coach in the world. What you believe in your heart, you think in your mind, will eventually become your words and become your reality. I'm here on this earth to help people live a great life. Just like they're trying to do and change life for you, I'm here to give you the information to keep you grounded in the right hemisphere of the brain, to keep you happy, healthy, and prosper no matter what times you're in. So let's go ahead and get started. So what is this, what we're about to watch? This is really important because the way you live, the way your kids are going to grow up is going to be completely different. I want you to think about this. You know, within our grandparents' lifetime, they had the Model T. Now we have cars that drive themselves. Think about the changes within the 100 years, right? We had flip phones about 12, 13 years ago. Now we have smartphones and computers. We're going to be using this. Think about what's going to change in the next 100 years, but I'll tell you what. In the next 10 years, by 2030, you're probably going to be seeing the most changes in history. There's a couple things to think about, warriors. Is number one, can you be on the investment side of that and create generational wealth from generation to generation? Bringing back the money back to the people? Could you do that? Absolutely you could. There's the biggest shift in generational wealth happening right now. Human capital is the focus of the World Economic Forum. They keep saying human capital. But as we go into the new technology age, the fourth industrial revolution, humankind is going to be tested. So I'm going to narrate this as I see it as a warrior coach and how I'm going to protect my mind, body, immunity, and my generational wealth. So let's go ahead and listen to this. So this is the World Economic Forum. This just posted live 2 hours ago. So I watch all of these guys. I watch all these. I'm not watching all the news. I literally watch everything they're doing, not what they're saying. So go ahead and narrate this. So this is the World Economic Forum meeting. This is the finance meeting. So this is financial. Okay, this is the finance part of the green energy.
And tackling climate change head on. We will, for example, update our planning regulations to ensure that new buildings are sustainable and include carbon reduction designs. We will dedicate more street space to cycling and walking. And we'll enhance carbon removal by introducing sustainable land management practices. Ensure our investments are Paris aligned and develop a climate action fund working alongside city businesses to invest in low and zero carbon technologies. This strategy sets out our ambition for London to lead the way on climate action. For London and financial centres around the world, this is no longer a nice to have. It's no longer even just the right thing to do. It's a complete necessity. We must be commercially resilient for the future. We've seen the importance of this through the pandemic.
Okay, we've seen the importances through the pandemic. She said it's a necessity. So what she just set out is a red flare or signal to companies saying, you better get on board. Oil and companies right now and gas companies are rebranding to energy companies because guess what? You're not going to get the funding from the elite. They're going to move quickly and rapidly. And where the money goes, the energy flows.
The economies that have fared best have been those that were best prepared. Those that had invested in the technology, the systems, the infrastructure, which meant that when faced with a crisis, they were able to adapt and thrive.
Oh, pick the words up. Words matter. Those who adapted to the crisis, don't let a good crisis go to waste. They say that themselves, the elite, fared the best. Think about this. Blockchain, technology. We now have a contested presidential election. It's going to be on a blockchain. Everything's moving to the new quantum financial system. Everything's going to run on a blockchain. You're all going to be working from home. Let's continue the journey.
The coming months will undoubtedly be a challenge for all of us, not least as we continue to grapple with COVID-19. But now...
That was a flare signal. The next couple months, my prediction, we're all going to get locked down again. They're preparing us. The next couple months are going to be a massive challenge for you guys. Get ready. Get mentally ready, warriors. Get ready to protect your mind. Let's go.
Is also the moment to plan for the future. And
this is also the moment to plan for the future. Their problem, reaction, solution.
That is why we published our report, London Recharged, last month, looking at London of 2025. The report looks at the questions we need to be asking ourselves now. What action can we now take to support a sustainable recovery, to protect our long-term competitiveness, and to ensure that we are fit for the future? We have a once-in-a-generation opportunity to build a greener, more sustainable economy, and we must seize this opportunity. The signatures on our ambitious commitments are dry. I think we can all agree we need to move faster on the enabling actions. I urge us all not to let today be just another conversation. We all know that decisions made in the next few years will determine the global emissions trajectory for decades to come. We hold the fate of the Paris Agreement in our hands. We hear a lot about the investment gap to deliver Paris and how we need to shift from billions to trillions. We hear much less frequently how we can make this happen. And that's the express purpose of this week's summit, bringing stakeholders together from across the globe to identify the real, tangible actions we can and must all take. Climate change is a global challenge requiring global collaboration. From business, government, to each of us as individuals, we all have a role to play in the fight against climate change. We will start with keen insights from His Royal Highness the Prince of Wales, before hearing from Shimara Wickramanayake from Macquarie, Minister Luhut from Indonesia, and Mike Bloomberg. We will then hear three essential perspectives to closing the Paris finance gap. First, we will hear from the private finance perspective.
All right, so we're going to analyze and break this down as the Prince of Wales speaks.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am delighted to have been invited by the Lord Mayor of London to speak to you today at this Green Horizons Summit about my Sustainable Markets initiative. The current pandemic has brought unimaginable devastation to people's lives, livelihoods, and national economies. At the same time, the green recovery represents an unprecedented opportunity to rethink and reset the ways in which we live and do business. Now, I've long believed that
Okay, let's stop for a moment. They keep bringing up the word pandemic. The Green Initiative has been around for a while. Go back and watch the Green or the World Economic Forum videos, the IMF videos. This has been around for a while, but they keep bringing up the pandemic as the opportunity to make the change.
we need a shift in our economic model that places nature and the world's transition to net zero at the heart of how we operate, prioritizing the pursuit of sustainable, inclusive growth in the decades to come.
So during the presidential election debates, you kept hearing about the Green Initiative and fracking. Net zero is no emissions, zero emissions, right? In 2024, all cars in California, all commercial cars, need to be electric.
Been championing climate action now for the last, 40 years, I can tell you that this isn't a fight for the faint-hearted. However, Increasingly, we are seeing more and more businesses, investors, and consumers prioritizing sustainability and thus creating a much more virtuous circle of supply and demand. By leveraging market forces and the immense resources of the private sector, there is hope that we can transform the situation.
Okay, so one thing I want to pause for a moment is we keep hearing the narrative about leveraging private sectors. Think about this. The governments, or excuse me, the central banks or the feds, or in America, right? They need to move to a quantum financial system. They need to work with the private sectors. Okay, so people that are top people in the OCC are talking about using the private sector to move us to the new quantum financial system. Private and government partnerships.
But I'm afraid we are literally at the last hour, and there is real urgency for action.
So that's a signal to say we're going to move fast and furious. We're going to get locked down in the next 3 months. You're going to be locked down, problem, reaction, solution. You're going to want a solution. So they're going to move quickly to move you to the new solution. Now, this is not necessarily a bad thing, Warriors, because the Green Initiative, in my opinion, is great. If they're really, if the initiative is to bring us to a greener, sustainable energy, to clear up our air, but think about the human capital part they talk about. The mindset's going to be challenged with technology.
We know now what we have to do to rescue the situation, rather than going on talking about it. In September, to mark Climate Week, I called for a new Marshall-like plan for people, planet and nature. I look forward to detailing and mobilizing action for this plan in the weeks and months ahead.
Okay, so I'm not sure. I'm going to take it what it means in America. A Marshall-like plan in the months and weeks ahead. So I know what that means in America. I don't know what that means by the Prince of Wales where they're at. I have no idea. So what does a Marshall-like plan mean in the next couple months mean in America? What is martial law? Maybe I could be off on that. Comment below.
Today, as we focus on financing and investment to drive the green recovery, I would like, if I may, to highlight 10 actions that could make a tremendous difference. First of all, we must proactively mobilize investment in sustainable infrastructure, with a focus on carving out a global asset class for sustainable project financing to unlock capital currently invested elsewhere. Second, we must work to
That will be done through crypto, 100%.
establish functioning global markets for natural capital and carbon offsets, enabling rewards for negative emissions by developing new market frameworks.
So your ass as a company better get to work on Green Initiative or you ain't getting no money.
Third, we must promote the scale-up of emerging technologies that support sustainability and provide them with the advisory support they need to access capital markets more quickly.
So companies that are following this new initiative are going to be able to access capital markets to get the funding they need.
Fourth, we must rigorously work towards the provision of reliable data and actively advance the adoption of common metrics and standards, as, for example, in the IBC scorecard, in order to allow more informed assessments of sustainability compliance and opportunities for improvement, in particular with regard to alignment with the Paris Agreement.
You better be in alignment with the Paris Agreement, the elites.
It is time now to move to unified metrics and global standards to encourage accelerated progress through uniform benchmarking.
One world economy. You can go wherever you want with that one.
Fifth, we must provide development finance capital to promote research and development and innovative sustainable solutions, while leveraging financial innovations to accommodate small to medium enterprises, which typically find it difficult to access significant pools of capital.
Financial innovation, crypto, blockchain, DeFi.
Sixth, we must build nature-based solutions and carbon capture, use and storage into companies' asset base and supply chains.
V-chain, supply chain. I don't know if this had anything to do with it, but when I woke up this morning, V-chain was up quite a bit.
We need to advise clients how this can offer significant economic growth opportunities in areas such as the circular bioeconomy, ecotourism, and green public infrastructure. The only way, ladies and gentlemen, to reduce emissions at the scale required, short of a ban on fossil fuels, is to accelerate the development, implementation, and scaling up of carbon capture use and storage, both nature-based and engineered, to buy us precious time.
Okay, stop for just a moment. What did we hear during our debates? The argument was banning fracking. He said short from banning fossil fuels. Trump and Biden were going back and forth. He said, you said you were going to ban fracking. And Biden kept going back and forth on that one. This is not political. This is actually what was happening, right? I'm not sharing my political view. Trump kept saying, you're going to ban fracking. He said, I didn't say that. And so think about that. And they kept talking about the Green Deal. This is all connected, warriors. Wake up.
Time while allowing us rapidly to draw down carbon emissions as we transition towards a net zero global economy. So,
a net zero global economy, non-emissions. You're going to be at home, watching everything on Zoom, working from Zoom, teaching your kids from home, technology, buying everything off your phone, delivering your food. Where would you invest?
We must start accounting for natural capital on companies' balance sheets. Without this, firms simply cannot tell the true value of their asset base, nor how damaging their operations may be on the natural world. So we must put nature and sustainability at the center of companies' business models, their analysis, decisions, and actions, and ask them to report on it.
So if you don't evolve companies, you're going to get crushed. You're not going to get funding.
8, we must be bold enough to reimagine industries through the lens of sustainable markets to create more resilient and sustainable products, services, and supply chains, while in parallel helping the transition efforts. 9th, we must make the sustainable options the trusted and attainable options for consumers. With consumers controlling an estimated 60% of global GDP, people around the world have the power to drive the transformation to sustainable markets.
People have the power to drive this to sustainable markets. So what we do is we're going to lock the people down and force you into using sustainable markets. It's not a bad thing, the green thing, but we're going to teach you and force you to use this as your lymphness system. Use this to do your finances. Use this to order your food. Use this to educate yourself. Use this to teach and mold you into what we want you to be.
We must better communicate with consumers about the sustainability of the goods, services, and investments we offer.
Wait, let's listen to that part again real quick.
Resilient and sustainable products, services, and supply chains, while in parallel helping the transition efforts. 9th, we must make the sustainable options the trusted and attainable options for consumers. With consumers controlling an estimated 60% of global GDP, people around the world have the power to drive the transformation to sustainable markets. We must better communicate with consumers about the sustainability of the goods, services, and investments we offer.
Okay, stop for this. We must communicate. Who is going to do the communication to you guys? Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all these places. We must. So who's all working together behind the scenes? Who is the World Economic Forum? The elites.
10th, and finally, we must end perverse subsidies and improve incentives for sustainable alternatives. It must be a real priority to level the playing field and to think about how we properly deploy incentives.
Okay, the words matter. Trump, even playing field. Christine Lagarde, even playing field. Judy Shelton, even playing field. The Prince of Wales just said an even playing field.
Policies and regulation in a way that catalyses sustainable markets and comprehensively considers long-term economic sustainability. Ladies and gentlemen, achieving a sustainable future is the growth story of our time and can, in fact, fuel our post-pandemic recovery in a way that benefits people's lives and livelihoods and nature's own economy and pays dividends for decades to come.
There you go. Pays dividends for decades to come. Post-pandemic. Post-pandemic. Okay? So I'm just going to stop there. Think about the things that were said. Pandemic. Post-pandemic. Pandemic. Even playing field. You were locked down all year. You're going to get locked down again. So the things that I want to ask you, Warriors, is where would you invest? That's why they say there's a biggest shift in generational wealth. That's why they keep saying the Great Reset. That's why they keep saying an even playing field. They keep talking about human capital. The only way to make this change was to force it to the people. You weren't going to move by yourself, Warriors. Think about the political platform right now. Think about what's happening. Listen to words. Words matter. Spelling, words matter. Warriors, we have to wake up. We have to do our part to become the uncommon 1%. The 1%. The 1%. I'm here to inform you guys that words matter. Take control of your mind. Take control of your body. Movement, breathing, meditation, understanding economics, and you're going to be in great shape, Warriors. If you want to join our private Facebook group down below, click the link. We'll get you into the private Facebook group. If you're ready to join the Warrior Academy, click the link below. It'll get you right in the Warrior Academy. We just launched it to the public, mind, body, immunity, and I show you how I'm navigating the new quantum financial system. My name is Coach JV. I am the top health and mindset coach in the world. What you believe in your heart, you think in your mind, will eventually become your words and become your reality. Warriors, rise! Let's go.